Hello everyone, this is Colin once again. I'm making this video because I heard this argument from a user here on YouTube named Debate with M, aka Thomas. And this isn't really a direct refutation towards him, it's just that I was curious about his argument. He made a video claiming that the Quran teaches that Jesus is God, and that apparently Muhammad was confused about this point, about who was Jesus? Was Jesus God, and things like this. And he cited a number of references, but I think the one that is the main focus is chapter 4, verse 171. Now the problem with Thomas and others like him is that they only use one translation of the Quran when they're making their argumentation. And they only use Abdul Yusuf Ali. Now, I'm not knocking Abdul Yusuf Ali. I enjoy his translation and his commentary. But one thing you have to understand about Abdul Yusuf Ali is that he is not really basing his translation very literally on the text of the Arabic. He is actually trying. The way he translated his translation was trying to pattern it off of the King James Version, in other words, the way it sounds, Old English. There's a lot of thou and thee and things like this. And Muslims and non-Muslims alike agree that his commentary is great, but at times, the way he translates certain verses confuses people. Sometimes it doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and things like this. Now, the verse in question, I'm going to read it from Abdul Yusuf Ali's translation, because I feel like a lot of Muslims and non-Muslims will relate to it, because it's one of the most commonly used translations amongst a lot of different people. The verse says this: O people of the book, commit no excess in your religion, nor say of Allah aught but the truth. The Messiah Jesus, son of Mary, was no more than a messenger of Allah, and his word, which he bestowed on Mary, and a spirit proceeding from him. So believe in Allah and his messengers. Now, first off, what I find kind of interesting when people are reading Abdul Yusuf Ali, and when people like Thomas make use of Abdul Yusuf Ali, and they're trying to say that Islam teaches that Jesus is God, or that Muhammad was confused about the nature of Jesus in Islam. What's funny is that the one phrase in this verse says, he was no more than a messenger of Allah. That's right there in the text. But they take exception to two phrases: that he was a word which was bestowed on Mary, and a spirit proceeding from him. So here's the argumentation. They say that, wow, a word from God must therefore be divine, and a spirit from God must imply that if Jesus is actually a spirit, that they must think that therefore Jesus is divine in some way, or God himself, because if you're going to say that the word, which is a divine word from God, and that a spirit from God must also be divine, and therefore Jesus must be divine. That is pretty much the argumentation. What's interesting is that I don't think the people who use Abdul Yusuf Ali, like Thomas for example, I don't think they're actually paying attention to Abdul Yusuf Ali's own commentary on his own translation, which I think is kind of funny. Anytime a translator offers his own commentary to his own work, it's important to actually read what they say. When you read his 5 points about the nature of Jesus and Islam, the third and fourth point explains the following. In the third point in the commentary, he says that the word is kun, be. And the way we know this, because in the Quran, chapter 3, verse 58 or 59, depending on your translation, it says the similitude of Jesus is that of Adam. God said, be, kun, and he was. So, this is not a divine word, this is actually the word that God uses to create everything. Now, I mentioned this to Thomas in his comments section, and Thomas responded by saying, well, how do you know that this word is be? Well, also look at the Bible. Genesis, chapter 1, in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. God said, let there be light. Let there be light. And there was light. Let there be light. So even in Jewish Christian understanding, God said be, and there was creation. Now, let's look at the Arabic, because it's really interesting is that there are a variety of English words that people can use in this verse. For example, some translators, like Abdul Yusuf Ali, say spirit. The translation called the Glorious Quran says the word spirit. Many of the most literal translations I have, like the Noble Quran in one case, and also this translation right here, the Holy Quran, rendered in English by Abdul Manan Omar, and explained by Allama Nuruddin, is another very literal translation. They use the word mercy. Now, this might confuse non-Arabic speaking people, and I myself am not an Arabic speaking individual. However, if you understand Arabic, like other rich languages, one word in Arabic can mean like 5 things in English. And depending on the context, it implies what it's really meaning based on the language, but at other times, it can literally be referring to all 5 of these concepts simultaneously. So when someone is reading one Arabic word, they are literally thinking of 5 concepts simultaneously when reading this one word. Now, the Noble Quran here, which again is a very literal translation, it has commentary for this as well, but this isn't like some interpretation. This isn't Islamic theology in this commentary. This is actually looking at the language itself. This is actually looking at what the Arabic is really connotating, literally. Now, they start off by saying that the term Ru'ullah, that according to the language, this is how the Prophet, his companions, and the successors of the companions understood this verse based on their own mother tongue, i.e. Arabic. And that there are rules in Arabic, like in any other language, there are rules in the language. And they say that when there are 2 nouns, the first rule is that when one of the 2 nouns is Allah and the other is a person or a thing, i.e. Allah's house, Bat'ullah, Allah's messenger, Rasulullah, Allah's slave, Abdullah, Allah's spirit, Ru'ullah. The rule for the above words is that the second noun, i.e. the house, messenger, slave, spirit, is created by Allah and is honored in His sight. And it actually gives an example. The example is Isa, Jesus, that He was the Word. And it was His word, be, kun, and He was. In other words, Jesus was created like Adam. Again, making that reference back to chapter 3 of the Quran. Now, the second rule is, but when one of the 2 is nouns, is Allah, and the second is neither a person nor a thing, then it is not created. The thing, not a created thing, but is a quality of Allah, like Allah's knowledge, Allah's life, Allah's statement, Allah's self. And so, the interesting point is that the Arabic terminology in chapter 4 verse 171 implies a created thing. A created thing. It says that Jesus is a created thing. In other words, because it says He's a Ruh Allah. He is a spirit of Allah, or a soul from Allah, or a mercy from Allah. But no matter what word you use in the Arabic, because of the rules of the Arabic language, that when you have 2 nouns and one of them is a person, place, or thing next to Allah as the other noun, it implies that that thing is created by God. And as people who believe in God, whether you're a Jew or a Christian or a Muslim, you would say that God is not created, that a divine thing is not created. So God cannot create another uncreated. It's a paradox. It doesn't make any sense. And I think as people of Jews, Christians, and Muslims would agree on this. So therefore, even if you say, well, no, it's saying this, it doesn't make any logical sense. And there's the hadith. Now, see, Thomas has said that Muhammad was confused. Really? Well, there's the hadith from Sahih Bukhari where the scholars say directly commentates on this verse, narrated by Abda. The Prophet said, if anyone testifies that La ilaha illallah, none has the right to be worshipped but Allah alone, who has no partners, and that Muhammad is His slave and His messenger, and that Jesus is Allah's slave and His messenger, and His word, be, and He was, which He bestowed on Mary in a spirit, Ruh, created by Him, and that paradise is the truth, and that hell is the truth, and Allah will admit him into paradise with the deeds which he had done, even if the deeds were few. That's from Sahih Bukhari. And so what we have Muhammad teaching his companions is that Jesus is a created thing. Alright, so there really is no confusion. This is what the Prophet taught. Now I'm going to have to make a part 2 to this video because I'm going to actually look at some other commentaries here and see what other scholars have said. So we'll make part 2 to this video. Thank you for watching. Stay tuned. Peace be with you all.